Okay, hi, this is Maura McGill, and I'm wanting to talk to the people who are coming to the 2-day event and give you a little glimpse of what we're going to be doing. One of the things we're going to be talking about is our food. And of course, we've got Ronaldo Fulieri coming, and he is going to just shock everybody with how wonderful he is, because I'm a real fan. But I thought that I would answer some questions about food and this age group and how things might or might not be important right now. So Liz is going to ask me some questions, aren't you, Liz?
I am. Hi, everybody. One of the questions that came up after the Naturally Happy Hormones, or certainly with me, is are there certain foods that can control the symptoms caused by hormonal imbalances?
We have long suspected that soy products and things like tofu and tempeh and the things that are made from soy products have we know they have phytoestrogens in them, and we have long suspected that the fact that Asian women do not suffer like Western women from the menopausal symptoms as much or at all is because of their phytoestrogen content. However, we don't have clear answers about why they don't suffer from it, and it cannot be just the phytoestrogens, because we have a lot of vegetarians. I have in my practice a lot of vegetarians who eat a fair amount of soy products and still have the symptoms of menopause, like hot flushes and things. However, there are other things. You will have heard me speak about chicken in the past. Very high estrogen content in chicken, which is not necessarily a bad thing for a woman whose estrogen is very low, but as you know, we often find it very high. So you shouldn't really make a decision about whether to eat chicken unless you know where your estrogen is. And chicken and soy are two of the most obvious foods that are important at this time of life. The other things that are important are the spread of different foods that you're supposed to get. You see, we've fallen into a pattern by the time we're 50 of Sunday roast, barbecue chops, a salad of lettuce and tomato, and we get a bit lazy because we've been looking after a family for 30 years and we're kind of over it. And I understand that completely. And those of us who live alone are even more over it because we don't want to be creating a whole food panoply display for ourselves. So we get a bit lazy and we don't eat the variety of foods that we should. We should eat a reasonable variety of foods in season. That doesn't mean to say that we go through the supermarket and buy 350 foods. It means that you buy the seasonal fruit, the seasonal vegetables, you buy them fresh, preferably organic, and you get into good food, a variety of them at home. And that's something you need to pay attention to in this age group, because we all get a bit tired of the whole cooking experience.
And knowing what's seasonal and what's not seasonal
because
anymore.
we've been spoiled. We've been spoiled that everything's available all the time. And now you need to actually ask the greengrocer what's in season, or what has come out of cold storage in some place that's been locked up for 12 months. So you actually need to know what's in season and what is this season. They're dishing up apples to us from last season. So even though apples might be in season right now, they mightn't be this year's apples. Well, I can tell you last year's apples are not going to take very good this season. So, yeah.
They recently did a study actually on 2 major supermarkets, and one of them came up with 9 months their food has been stored prior to coming to us.
I saw that television program, yes. You do have to be careful. And that's the benefit of farmers markets, although they implicated some farmers markets as well. But I like the little local markets. I live in Madraba and we have a local market every fortnight or so. None of those are big producers. They're all just mums and dads and small market gardeners who have an excess of produce and they bring it along to turn it into cash. Well, they haven't got storage facilities for 12 months, so I feel reasonably confident that those little markets are actually okay.
You mentioned about organic food. So how does organic food compare nutritionally with ordinary and cheaper food?
Organic food is supposed to be pesticide free, and it's supposed to be no artificial fertilizers. It's supposed to be the freshest that you can make it and as pure as you can make it, just out of the ground sort of thing. The problem as I see it with organic food is not that there's any doubt that it's better, but that the food you buy that's labelled organic, is it really organic? Because you're going to pay a premium for organic food. And in some cases, when you know that the farmer is registered and you know that it's properly labelled and so on, that's worth the money. But I have my doubts about what's labelled organic in the big supermarkets, because I just feel maybe it's not. And in any event, sometimes you think, well, people can charge an extra $1 a kilo for something labelled organic and less for the non-organic. Sometimes the organic food, which is supposed to have no pesticides, is way too perfect. It doesn't have any blemishes, and how do they get it like that? I mean, I have my doubts, because you leave a peach on the bench here for 2 days and it's got a blemish. So if this food is organic, how come it hasn't got any blemishes? That's the first point, is the policing of what is truly organic. But the question you really asked was nutritionally better? Absolutely, absolutely better. There are various ways to test this. You can actually go and say, right, well, from Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday of next week, I will eat nothing but fresh organic food, and I will just buy what I just need using only the fridge as preservative. So no numbers, no sprays, no nothing, no. If you do that and you eat it either raw or freshly cooked, and see if you feel any better after 3 days, I'll guarantee you feel really a lot better. A lot better if they're truly organic food with no numbers, no pesticides, no preservatives, and cooked minimally just to keep it safe, then you're going to feel really a lot better. Yeah, it is nutritionally superior.
Wow. And meat?
Meat has to be carefully thought through. You have to go and get a good butcher that you trust. And you have to be a good customer to him. You know, if you buy the occasional chop from the occasional butcher, no one's going to worry about what you think or say. But if you have one butcher that you go to all the time, you say, now, Joe, I want to know that this is top quality organic beef. Are you going to swear to me that this is organic? And if you come back to him and say, didn't like it, there was something wrong with that beef, I want your special best, tell me what's really organic, then you can eat meat 2 or 3 times a week. But you can't really be eating meat every day and expect to get away with it. Our teeth at the back, the molars, are designed to grind meat. These are designed to chew and chomp lumps of things off. But the grinding at the back, we are designed to eat some meat. If we go back to caveman times, we would eat meat a few times a month, you know, when they'd have a kill. You might trap a rabbit or you might catch a fish in the meantime, but you'd only have a big meat thing when the big hunt was on. And we're really genetically programmed to be able to manage with that. The rest of the time it's fruit and vegetables, fruit and vegetables, fruit and vegetables, right? However, we prepare it ourselves. But meat, as long as it's safe, properly prepared, organic, and not commercial chicken, which is my pet hate, then you should be able to eat it safely and do well with it.
And you say commercial organic as well?
Commercial organic meat, because you're eating it much less often than your commercial organic vegetables or commercial organic fruit. So if you're only eating meat twice a week, you can form a relationship with the butcher and tell him, I really, really, really want organic. I don't want any pretend organic. Then I'm going around from butcher to butcher, so you give me the best one. Then you stick with what you find is really good, and you'll do well with organic meat once or twice a week.
Do you, in your opinion, do you believe that the vegetarian diets are better for us than ordinary meat-eating diets, or do you think that it's just a case of the quantity of what it is that we're consuming rather than...
Well, there are really 2 questions buried there. The quantity of food we're consuming is very important. I hear people all the time saying, I have a very healthy diet. I have muesli with fruit and for breakfast, and I put honey on my toast, and I don't eat butter, and I have a cup of fresh coffee, and then I have a big salad for lunch. Well, I'm stopping right there. You can't eat the rest of the day because you've already consumed enough to keep 3 men going for half a day, you know. And I think the quantity, even if it's really good food, you've got to limit the quantity in this age group, because this age group, it's not growing anything. It needs to just reduce the food to keep fit and keep slim. And of course, lots of people say, eat less, live longer, right? So we need to worry about the quantity. But then, having said the vegetarian diet, people who are vegetarians, as long as they do it properly, are much healthier. And that's a reflection of the stuff that's in meats that we don't like, because meat eaters eat a lot of meat quite often. Secondly, it's a function that a lot of vegetarians take greater care with their food. They actually have to cook it properly, and they have to include pulses and lentils and stuff so that they get the protein. And they, as well as getting the protein, they get the bowel scouring effect that good fibre gives you. So vegetarian diets that are properly constructed are actually healthier than the general diet. Having said that, I know a lot of vegetarians, including one of my two sons. When he was young, he thought on moral grounds he would become a vegetarian, which I really approved of, except that his version of vegetarian, given that I wasn't going to cook 2 lots of family meals, his version of vegetarian was just to eat the vegetables on the side of his plate. And that doesn't work. You've actually got to take the care to have the proper fibre, the proper grains, the proper vegetables, the proper everything, and you've got to prepare it properly. He quickly, at the age of 13 or 14, no boy should be a vegetarian. They have too much muscle and bone to grow. They can't get that much protein out of vegetables at that age. And I've quickly convinced him to have a bit of iron in his diet and get a bit of meat into him. And then he was fine. Nowadays, he would be vegetarian 3 times a week, and he's good at cooking, so that works very well. And he's maintained lean muscle mass. He's now 6'2" and healthy and all the good things. But if you properly prepare a vegetarian diet, it is healthier, yeah.
You talked about preparation, and I know that cooking is very important to you. So how does the way we prepare food matter?
Yes, the way we prepare food very much matters. From a strictly medical point of view, fried food is all bad. We don't need that much oil and that much fat in our lives. Right? If you have one feed of fish and chips, that's enough fat to do you for a month. You just don't need that kind of fat in your diet. So the way you prepare food is very important. Raw is best. Roasted is next best. Stir-fried with, if you did a whole family with a teaspoon or a brushing of oil, that would be probably okay. Steaming preserves the nutrition rather than boiling, which is the old-fashioned way. And I still love some boiled vegetables, I have to tell you. But steaming is better for us because it doesn't leach the stuff into the water, although it drips down a little bit of the steam too, but it is better. So the preparation of food is important, and Ronaldo will go into that because he's all about how you prepare foods. And making raw food interesting is also important. You can't just chop up French beans and throw them on a plate and expect people to think they're appetizing. You know, you actually got to do something to it. So the way you prepare your food and the stuff you add to it and pretty it up, because it's got to be eye candy as well, and you've got to enjoy doing it, and then that makes a big difference. Yeah.
You talk about food miles. Why do food miles matter?
Well, actually, people are beginning to talk about food miles in Europe, and I find that fascinating that we haven't quite caught on to that here yet. Food miles are all about the carbon footprint. If you have pineapples in Queensland that are grown in Queensland and eaten in Queensland, there are almost no food miles involved. A bit of trucking it to the place where you bought it, a bit of taking it home with your petrol in your car, and not a great deal. But if you're in the Northern Territory and you're bringing up cold winter vegetables from Melbourne, the amount of carbon footprint involved in getting it on the road train and arriving it in Darwin and storing it under air-conditioned circumstances for maybe, as you said, 8 or 9 months, you know, the food miles start getting like a very serious component. They are already a component of the cost. We know that. We know that we have to pay for the transport. But we're paying with our health, with the carbon footprint of the transport. So food miles are going to become something very much more interesting and important. And I know I learned about quinoa from Ronaldo, and I made quinoa for some visitors here on the weekend. And then I thought to myself, excuse me, this has come from Bolivia. And I'm in Queensland cooking a Bolivian grain. How about the food miles in that? And I got guilty because I could be using rice from Queensland. And so once in a while, Sure. But all the time? No. I think you've got to be allowing for the carbon footprint and the price we pay with our health, with storage and transport issues, with long distance food. Long distance food is never as good as the stuff you dig out your own garden.
What other food related conditions are common for this stage of life? What are people walking through the door with?
It's very interesting. The first of the 7 dwarfs of menopause is itchy. Itchy, bitchy, weepy, sweaty, bloated, forgetful and psycho. And itchy and bloated are both sort of food related sometimes, because you can get allergies coming up at this time in your life that you've never had before. There are people with new gluten and lactose sensitivity coming in now. As their hormones have kept them fertile as they're young, the body has basically said, okay, we're a little bit allergic to gluten, but don't worry about it, we're going to make babies, and makes the hormones deal with it. As it's no longer required for you to make babies, the hormones are not dealing with it, and up pops the allergy. So you actually get allergies cropping up at this time of your life, where you say, but I've eaten gluten my whole life. I've drunk milk my whole life. Yeah, but maybe now you can't. And so allergies come up, the first thing. The second thing is, after a lifetime of poor eating habits, you will find that as your hormones say, well, we don't have to try too hard anymore, let the health go because we're not making babies, you will find things like diverticulitis and irritable bowel will start to make their presence felt because you've given them 20, 30, 40 years of bad diet. And now the body says, I can't take this anymore. I've really got to protest. And your body will tell you in large, sometimes bleeding, pain, diarrhea, stuff, that you've been doing the wrong thing with the diet all along. And these crop up at this age. So they're all very, very important. The other, of course, the major one is the big C. People get cancer of the bowel at this age, again, because of a lifetime of poor diet, perhaps a genetic tendency. It runs in families, cancer of the bowel. If they haven't paid attention to their diet and they haven't done the colonoscopies and they haven't tracked it through, when you're 50 or 60, that's when you're going to get it. So it behoves you to make sure your diet is really, really as good as you can make it to prevent all these degenerative diseases in the bowel coming up. And lots of them are food. And preservatives I hate. Don't eat numbers. Don't eat numbers. Don't eat numbers. Go on, what's the next question?
I could probably go on for ages talking about food and diet and how it relates to people, and certainly people coming in this age group, but is there anything else, I guess, that you want to add from a GP's point of view?
I just find that if you can talk to people about food, both the quantity and the quality, you're halfway to making them well, no matter what they come through the door with. I cannot tell you how often it must be every patient in any week. I can't think of a week in the last 12 months where someone's come into my room bursting with energy and vitality. Everybody's tired. Everybody said, oh, I'm so tired. And then you say to them, I've looked at your hormones. Are you tired? Oh, yes, I'm tired. Even though that mightn't have been what brought them in. Might have been the hot sweats. It might have been any number of things. But if you ask them, they're tired. Everybody's tired. There's got to be some reason we're all so tired. Not just that we're doing more. Life was very tough in the 40s. Think of the Depression times when women had no washing machines, no money, no help in the house, no opportunity to do it. Everything had to be done. And clothes had to be mended and dresses and, shirts made for the farmers and stuff. Everything had to be done. They were every bit as tired as we were. And yet they weren't complaining about tired. We are in a top nutritional time of our lives with all access to all these foods, and we're tired. Why are we tired? It's not that we're low on iron. It's not that we're low on vitamins, although people are selling us a lot of vitamins and iron as well, and some of it makes you feel a bit better. But I worry that our food is actually not the quality that it should be. So the tiredness of our generation is something I like to tackle with the food. I won't have time to do it in a surgery consultation. And I'm hoping that on the 2-day where we see you, we'll have a chance to discuss the issue of fatigue and food together. So thank you for all the questions. I'm glad to have got those things out of the way. I'll be doing a blog as well, so we'll have it writing, or some issues will differ a little. But I'm looking forward to the 2-day where I can see you all and we can deal with these things one after the other. We'll make some more little videos of all the other things that we're going to be giving you a glimpse of, and I hope you enjoy it, and I'll see you there.